Why, greetings once again and welcome to my shop another day, and it looks like I'll be playing with my 3D printer again because it is time to actually finally upgrade these wheels. I stopped mid-project because I had a quick print to do, and well, you know how that goes. When you gotta do a print, you do a print. So today some of the upgrades that I'm going to be doing are going to constitute the rollers, specifically just the rollers and a few other things, including the under bed knobs. So starting off, everyone knows that there are a multitude of rollers on this machine, primarily 3 on each side, 3 on this, and then there are 6 underneath. When I put it back together so that it is a measurable and consistent distance from this and the bed, which I will be reinforcing with silicone spacers, so it will be a consistent distance. And in order to do that, I'll be taking these polycarbonate wheels, which I had mentioned in my last video, and we're going to do a couple of things to them first. Those poor polycarbonate wheels are not greased very well. The grease that's probably in there is probably a very viscous high-speed grease. And that is what I used on my direct drive last time. When I did the cleaning and maintenance on it, I used the high-speed gear oil because this is technically a high-speed bearing. The rest of these are not. That is the only thing that's a high-speed. This is not a high-speed bearing. So with that determined, I have purchased this Super Lube. Super Lube is a synthetic grease. It is very simple. It is very easy to use and easy to get your hands on. This is sold by weight, not by volume. So when you see a giant vacuum in there, it is because it is done by weight. Now, trust me, there's plenty in there to do what we need to do. Another thing that I have personally done is replace the factory wheels on the bed leveling knobs. These are fine for most individuals. You can easily twist them and get the bed leveled exactly where you need to go, but it doesn't tend to stay. So I printed these. It is done on my resin printer with a specific tough resin. So these are very durable. I could drop it out here. I'll do that in a second, but I got a nylock nut in there. That's why I got these. The whole point of this is to have this nylock nut so that I can have them stay in place more often than not. I'm sorry, you can't see this. Whoop. That bounced real well. Anyway, that is why I did it out of the tough resin, so that they are very durable and they don't shatter upon impact like some resins do. You can get high-speed grease and put it on a bearing like that, but I couldn't find a bottle for less than $100, so you could see my alternative is to use the gear oil. So since grease stays put, we're going to put it between the bearings of the polycarbonate wheels. And once we do that, we're going to thread it back onto the machine. And over time, that will ooze out. And we can just clean it off. Put enough on there, you probably don't need to do another bearing maintenance until you start hearing squeaking, which is a problem on these printers. As I tested here earlier, the bearings in here are using a very viscous oil, and over time it evaporates, it flows off, it doesn't stay in the bearing. That's the point. And if it gets dry enough, you'll start hearing high-pitched screeches when something moves from the bearing in the direct drive to these V-groove rollers, which each one is made of 2 bearings with a brass fitting in between. And when the oil is worked out of it from use, then it needs to be replaced, and a grease stays put. So that's what we're going to do. All right, I'm going to move the camera. We're going to get started. and what I am doing is I am pushing it. So now that this has grease packed in it, the only other place for the grease to go is in the bearing. So once I thread this with a bolt, when I reattach it to the printer, the grease will work its way into the bearings. As it is right now, it doesn't free spin. But then again, my hands are greasy. All right, so I have 20 to do that too. I am just going to pack it like that. How do I get into the other package? I forgot to open it before I started. Oh, okay. Oh well, I guess I just won't use the package again. It's going to be greasy. Okay, there's all 20. You may look at that and go, wow, that's way too much grease. And, well, you'd be right. That is way too much grease. I'm going to wipe the rest of that off when I start to install it. So that's, some of it's going to come off, but you'd rather have too much grease always hard to do screws backwards. Holy moly. It's getting humid here. I can feel it, which means it's going to rain soon. All right. Twist and pull. So I did a modification on this bed before, and you'll notice that this rides really well across my bed, or across the axis. It's got a little bit of a movement here, which is something I need to fix, and that's what we're going to do today. This came with the printer, so I hope you have one too. Oh, does that not disconnect? Those wires are going nowhere, chunner. Okie dokie. This is probably a year and a half of consistent use. And as you can see, it's done quite a number on those rollers. They're dirty, they're messy, it's just grease, and the worn out bits from these rollers right here where it starts to develop a concave pattern versus the new ones, which will be more flat and more enduring on these outer edges. Huh, just as I promised, it's raining. It's actually nicer out here. I have a very nice and complete set of drill bits here. There we go. That's the right size. This is 19, is that really 19? 19/64ths, if you want to do that yourself. This is a very, 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 very valuable upgrade. Now, this plate is aluminum, so that won't be hard at all. You use one of these cone tip drill bits. and I'll need that later. Use one of those cone tip drill bits and gore that out a bit. Just to point this out, these were the original 3 with the eccentric nuts. These 3 had steel spacers, which I have used in other places on the printer. But changing those out with the larger bore diameter so that the eccentric nut will fit in it, like so, means that this bed will have all the wheels touch it. And that is a profound upgrade. Oh hey, while we're here, let's see if it'll do it. No, not gonna do it. I've done it before, I promise. Oh well. Printer just makes a liar of me today. Oh, there it goes. There we go. There's the bearing. That's it. You see that's one side. And push the other one through. There's the other side. And that is a washer slash spacer. And there's the inside of the wheel. And you can see it has a lip on there where each side of these bearings go on. So I could repack this with grease and make it live again if I so chose. But one of the things that I want to fix on this is its uneven nature, because you might be able to see that this one has a very concave groove built into it. That is what makes the roller useless. Extra bearings, extra washer. Now, grab one of these. Just give it the rub. Here's the bolt. Now I could just push it through, but I'm not. I'm going to twist. There we go. And you know what? Now that I've got that extra grease right there, I'm going to give it some right there. Let's put you down. Nylock nut. I'm actually really surprised that these didn't have washers on them. I've actually got extra washers, and I think I'm going to start marrying these with some washers. Because if you can't tell, these Nylock nuts are really close to being too small for this. So, washers help. And in case you're wondering where I get my washers, I have purchased M-Nut kits. And those M-Nut kits came with washers. Here's an eccentric nut. As you can see, it is double-sided. One side is really flat. That presses against the bearing of the wheel, so you don't create friction on the outside edge. On the other side, it has a raised lip, which fits inside of the hole here. And then you could notice that it is off-centered. That is why it's called an eccentric nut. That state of being off-centered means that when I twist it in place, it'll move the bolt in and out so I can create a tighter or looser grip on the rail. That is why I'm doing this modification. Oh yes, on these Nylock nuts, they're also orientation specific. So let's go over that real quick. Did I just do that upside down? How could I just do that upside down? Excuse me. Okay. Now, Nylock nuts, if you take a close look at them, you'll see a blue band inside of the Nylock nut. Flip it over. Come on. You'll see the absence of the blue band. So the blue band is favoring one side, which means that I can hand thread it down the bolt before the nylock nut catches. Now, free spin, free spin, free spin. There it goes. Nylock nut is catching. So the purpose of that nylock nut is to prevent this free spinning so it becomes unthreaded and then you have a huge bed accident. This is my M bolt assortment, regular nuts, washers, and different lengths of M style screws. What that means is that's M2, 2mm hole, not including the thread. The thread makes the hole bigger. M3 is a 3mm hole. I'm going to stop here with the 4, and I will not put the last 2 on until I get it back on the V-rail. You'll see why in just a second. There's some dirt on here. Yep. Okay, now you can see here probably why I stopped with the 1. I cannot get it on there with the 1, so I've got to take it back off. And with the 3, I'll just hang it there. Wasn't that easy? And now I'll do the center one. Boom. That's it. Now, I've seen a lot of people take shortcuts when assembling this stuff. Let me be perfectly honest with you. The best shortcut to take is to do it completely. One of the worst things I have seen people do with this is try to force it to behave the way it doesn't want to behave. That causes problems. Man, it started raining just like I said it would, and now it's completely humid out here. And uncomfortable. Why don't you turn on the fan, Mr. Kane? Well, because if I do, you can't hear me. So I honestly want to get this done as quickly as possible. And no redos, so let's do it right the first time. Okay, so I will hold it with the wrench in the back, and we will twist until it is finger tight. Yep, that's all. All right, I did the other part. Fan is still on. It's no longer raining, it's just hot. Okay, no rocking, no twisting. Now you may ask, is this perfectly square? It does not matter if this is perfectly square, because there is about 10 millimeters of overage on the print bed. So that doesn't matter. It can be cattywampus and still turn out square. So now what you're looking at is positioning this in this notch so that there is the least amount of sway in the belt. And I've just moved them over a little bit until I am satisfied. There is still sway in the belt, which is to be expected. But now I need to get rid of this slack. In order to do that, first I have to take a pry bar and pull. Pull just enough so I can tighten 2 bolts. Finger tight. Finger tight. There we go. Yeah, much better. That's how much flex you want. You want to hold the belt still, and you want to pull on the bed, and you want to see minimal movement. It's tight enough. It feels loose. Maybe it is loose, but it is not rubbing on the rollers, on the walls of the rollers. It's staying relatively centered. I don't have to really... I could turn this to make it more centered. Sure. Okay, can you see it? I'm going to zoom in. Weep. See it? Weep. There we go. Oh, I gotta hold it still. It's hard, sorry. Look at that. So it does move a little bit. Ooh, this is hard. but not a lot. So by the time it gets all the way down there, focus, and then I bring it all the way back. So I can move this side to side to get that better oriented. So I'm going to pull on this side only, just a little bit. Look. It's perfect. I see very little movement in there. I can see this belt has very little travel. It is within the roller spacing. Let's turn this back around. Check this. Yeah, that's within the roller spacing as well. It's still favoring this side a little bit, but that's because of a different reason. Let's do this. So this is the drive motor, and here is the pulley system. So you can see why it's favoring this side over here, because it is on this side over here. Now you may not have this on yours, but what I'm going to do, give it some oil. Okay, I got my oil. You remember my gear oil. Can you see what I'm doing? Is this in the way? Using the Q-tip to allow the same wicking principle to pull it from the Q-tip and into the bearing. Don't tell me that doesn't work, because it's pulling it out of the Q-tip. Okay. One more to go. No, I'm not going to record it. I'm just going to do it. All right. I could use the originals, but I got these, and I want to use them. So, this goes like this. You have your bed, your bolt. The spring has been removed, so this goes in its place. Do that for each one, and then on the underside, I screw this down. So that works. All right. It is now just an issue of assembly. Oh, okay, I think that's enough for one video. Once I put the bed on, it's ready to print, and you've got yourself a double whammy of an upgrade. The eccentric nuts on the bottom and the polycarbonate wheels. I'll be doing the rest of this one piece at a time right now, because as you can tell, this is pretty time consuming. Well, that's one more step of it all out of the way. And as far as maintenance goes, as I've shown you, these original wheels can pop apart much easier to be greased, lubed, and cleaned. And I would highly recommend doing that. Once a year, I think, is a good amount of time. This has been a year and a half since I've started using this one, and now seems as good a time as any to start repairing it and maintaining it and while doing certain upgrades. So, well, your printer, your choice. I guess it's back off to the print races. I don't have anything in dire need of printing right now as I did before, so I probably won't put this back on the printer and show a clean print working at the on the outro. So yeah, that's good enough for part 2. I'm gonna go take a break, get some water. Well, I need some water. And subscribe if you would like to see another, if you'd like to be alerted for the third part. See, I could say this. Subscribe if you would like to see the third part of this video crop up in your feed instead of me posting it somewhere on Facebook. Thanks for stopping by, guys. I hope that video was informative to some degree. Seeing things done sometimes makes it a lot easier, especially for this guy. Well, bye.